So I want to react to the news that came out a little earlier today. Trade between the Steelers and the Miami Dolphins. Steelers end up getting Jalen Ramsey, Jonnu Smith, and a 7th-round draft pick. Dolphins receive Minkah Fitzpatrick and a 5th-round draft pick. So I think if you're the Steelers in this situation, let's say you're a Steelers fan, and you get the news that you got Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith, you'd be like, wow, this is awesome. We upgraded. We got another legit corner. And Ramsey, we gave it, another weapon, Aaron Rodgers, awesome. But then you lose Minkah Fitzpatrick, and it makes the trade not quite as enticing, I guess you could say. But I still think all in all, in my mind, the Steelers got the better end of this deal. I do think these are two teams in two totally different situations. I think the Dolphins will be competitive, but I think the Steelers are in a, go all in, win now type move with Rodgers, with him likely only playing 1 year. It sounded pretty clear a couple days ago that he is planning on this being his very last season. And I think all offseason long with the Steelers, we saw them, waiting on Rodgers. It seemed like they had some kind of agreement potentially in the background, and they were sort of waiting for the proper time to bring him to Pittsburgh. And I think with the amount of talent that the Steelers have on this roster, it makes sense if you're the Steelers, front office to say, okay, looking around at this offense, looking around at the amount of, talent you have on this team, it just would be a shame to maybe go into a rebuild right then, if that's drafting a quarterback early, trying to find the next solution at quarterback. Sure, maybe it works out if you draft a quarterback early and they hit, but at the same time, there's so much uncertainty in that situation. So it makes sense why they go with Rodgers. And I feel like this move is a move where they get better offensively. You give Rodgers another weapon. I do think there were some questions with George Pickens gone. You got DK Metcalf, awesome. But outside of that, I don't love the Steelers receiver room. You have Pat Freiermuth. But now you add Jonnu Smith, who just had his best season of his career, 800 or so receiving yards, 8 touchdowns, his first Pro Bowl of his career. And we know Arthur Smith loves to run those multiple tight end sets. So now you got Pat Freiermuth, Jonnu Smith. It gives the Steelers offense a ton to work with. And you throw in DK Metcalf, and I think this is a pretty solid offense for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then with Jalen Ramsey coming in, you do have, a crazy corner room with Joey Porter Jr., with Darius Slay coming from the Eagles, and now with Jalen Ramsey. Of course, you lose Minkah Fitzpatrick, who maybe hasn't been quite as good the past couple seasons, but you get a piece in Jalen Ramsey who can play multiple spots. I've seen some saying maybe he should go to safety now, which with Minkah Fitzpatrick gone, maybe that's a possibility. Maybe he's playing nickel corner, which is probably very likely, I would guess. And so, all in all, I would say it's a fine move by the Steelers. I don't think either team got, a crazy amount better just because the Steelers did lose Minkah Fitzpatrick. But at the same time, I think overall the Steelers are better because getting another weapon for Rodgers, I do think that was somewhat important. So that's why I'd say the Steelers won this trade overall. If you're the Dolphins, you did free up about $10 million or so in cap space with this move. You're not having to pay Jalen Ramsey all the money he was due this year. I think they're paying maybe $3 million more, paying $3 million for his deal. I think the Steelers are paying a lot more of it. And so, all in all, if you're the Dolphins, you get a legit, safety who's a couple of years younger than Jalen Ramsey, so maybe he lasts a little bit longer than Ramsey would. And you get a 5th-round pick. You never know what could happen with 5th-round picks. Maybe you hit on it. Maybe you find someone that ends up working out. So, all in all, it's a pretty even trade, but I think with the Steelers in the position they're in, they needed to get a weapon for Rodgers, and it doesn't hurt getting someone, with the experience and the veteran leadership of a, Jalen Ramsey type who just has been there before, done at the highest level consistently, won a Super Bowl as well. So, yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on the trade. If you want more NFL content, feel free to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.